Creator sent out. Get Twitch muted. Get our bot in here. And finally, get the Discord posted. Alright. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is. Wow, I was going to say January. I'm all over the place. This is October 29th, and this is the October 29th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be working on adding conversation support for the troll in the sewers. I have started with an idle animation, and I am going to kind of quickly throw a talk animation together. I kind of have that working, but I haven't actually tested this out, so we're going to see how this looks in practice. To get started, let's go ahead and we're going to jump over to scenes, intro, sewers. We go over here to sewers. All right. So we're going to pop over here to enemies and then sewer troll. This is the troll in the sewers, obviously, that you interact with, and we are going to set up character info. So for this, we don't need to worry about things like phrases. We're going to go ahead and jump over to here we are. So conversation data, right there, pretty straightforward. We are also going to come over to conversation data, and we need to set up our output sections. So for this, I am kind of going to be going back and forth between the old King conversation data and this one, just to kind of let me pull some prefab information. Okay, so we're going to duplicate this. There's going to be speak section. Actually, no. Let's delete this. So this is the same. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and duplicate this one. I'm going to call this speak section dash troll. Okay. And this is all about right. Okay. The only thing I want to do is I want to change this. I don't think I have it set up. Yeah, I didn't think so. I'm going to keep that there. I'm going to pop in over here real quick. I'll be going back and forth a lot today. I'm going to grab this because this is going to be the text that we want to use, or the color we want to use for that. It might end up changing because this color is a little ugly. It's kind of like this grayish blue, which isn't great, but it is somewhat accurate. This is the color I use for that, or for the actual troll. So let's go ahead and select this, grab you, come back to here. Let's go ahead and set this up while we're at it. And then I'm going to scroll down to here. We're looking for speak section troll. All right. The introduction text. Let's go ahead and say mindless troll looks your way. Let's go ahead and say default response is the troll seems puzzled by your words. All right. And next, I'm going to go ahead and set up create folder, talk. The two most important ones are idle and talk. And for talking, we fortunately don't really need to do much. I already have the talk mouth set up, and eyes and head and all that are basically going to be the same. So we're going to go ahead and create a SOS, text quest, ASCII, conversation animation. I'm just going to call this troll talk. I should probably go ahead and do dashes here to help separate things. Alright, so I'm going to call this talk. It is looping. Our mouth animation is going to be this, but our head animation is going to stay the same at that. Did I copy that over? I think I did. I'm super paranoid about it now, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go to idle head. Okay, good. I did. Then we're going to go back here to troll talk, and all we need now is our eyes, which are just going to be the same thing. So we're going to have idle eyes be our thing. All right, pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and add this to the controller. All right, and now I can go down here to our conversation data. Let's drag this in. We're just going to do none and none for the intro and outro right now. Idle is going to be this. Talk is going to be that. All this stuff is pretty straightforward. Default name is going to be troll. Names, one, we're going to go ahead and say if any of these are true, it's going to be Haas. Criteria is going to be based on a bool, which is going to be sewer troll name learned is true. All right. Let's go ahead and let that go. So we should basically get a standard name for troll if you don't read anything. And then if you do look around, you'll be able to find his real name. All right, so we're going to do art and kind of coding today, I guess. So that's going to be our topics. All right, that's pretty much all we should need to do to get the bare minimum going. So let's go ahead and just talk to him and see what those animations look like in practice. Oh, you know what? Actually, because we need to be able to do this, let's go ahead and add a topic that we can actually talk about. So this topic is going to be, let's see, king, speaking output, Max is friend, keywords, let's go ahead and do a couple of things. We'll say king, Ridinger, friend, fire end, friend, max, stuff like that. We don't have any data setters or criteria for any of that, so we're going to say none. And this is going to be actually interesting because I don't necessarily want there to be any visible criteria. I want this to just always be empty, kind of. So we might end up having to change that real quick. Let's go ahead and pop open our topics. So I'm going to go here to conversation topic, go to definition. Is conversible, is visible. Okay, here we go. So if our criteria.length is equal to 0, we're going to do one of two things. So we're going to change this, and we're going to say if visible criteria validation is equal to none, we're going to return false, else we'll return true there. And I think that's pretty much going to be the case for conversible as well. So we're going to do this. That way I can set things to, well, no, that doesn't really matter for his conversible because that would just make it never be possible to discuss it. It only really matters for his visible, I guess. So, sure, let's do that. All right, so let's let that compile. And then we should be able to talk to him about the king without having that necessarily show up in the conversations topic list. And in theory, we should be able to just walk up, talk to him, everything will work. In theory. All right, so I'm going to clear all this. I'm going to turn on test spawn. Here. Right about there. Okay. So let's see what happens. Alright. Right. That label didn't update properly. So we're going to say king. Oh, that's interesting. It didn't animate his talking animation. Interesting. I also just noticed that by default I have it doing the wrong eye pose, so I'm going to have to fix that. But interestingly enough, if I say max, max, is it toggling? It is. I'm curious. Okay. But it's never animating its mouth, which is interesting. Let's go ahead and pop over to... Here we are. So the mouth is here. Troll talk. Mouth animation. It's here. You see how this is... This should be animating. Oh, that's right. Proper frame rate is kind of important here. Let's go to King ASCII Talk. It's got a frame rate of 1. Let's go down to here. How fast do you move? 2. Okay, so let's speed that up a little bit. It could be that it's too short, basically, so we're not seeing it move. So let's pop you open to 2. And let's also, real quick, take a look at my eyes here. Yeah, okay, so that's my problem. Boop. Boop. Alright, and just to be safe... Okay, thought so. Alright, let's try that again. And we are going to want... Yeah, that's an interesting one. So one of the things that we need to handle here is the troll getting out of the way, essentially. Which... So one of the things that you need to be able to, that you can do is talk to the troll and get a... basically ask him to move if you do it politely. And we need to have a way to do that. As of right now, we don't have the conversation system firing events, but we do have it setting data, and we could have an event listener for it, I suppose. So let's talk to this. Troll, mindless troll looks your way. I'm so curious to see what the blinking looks like. Kind of eyeball this. I'm going to turn off maximize on play. Come over to here, idle eyes. Crank that number to 1, so that should mean it will always play the first animation. At least it should, anyway. There we go. Interesting. The weighting is... should be 1, which means that it should always blink, but I don't think it's finishing. That's interesting. Well, for the time being, so it is animating properly. We do get a nice little blinking animation. Doesn't look too bad. Let's go ahead and type max again. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Real quick, let's go ahead. I want to try that. Will that work? I don't think that would work. All right. Let's go ahead and test something real quick. I'm going to go to iLabel here. You are set to be in the center. I could put you up at the top. I'll fix that. This is an ASCII animation thing. I'm going to worry about that a little bit later. All right, so we have him animating. Let's go ahead and test the name. Oh, right, let's fix the conversation label not showing up too. Let's see. Let's see. Conversation view should be around here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and say spawn avatar. Open. So we can give it the data. We're gonna go ahead and at the very start here, we're gonna say name label dot color is equal to data dot color because those should always match. Let's let that compile. So this one should be the one I think that tells us what its name is. Alright, compiled right as I was clicking on it because it always does that. Go figure. We'll let that finish compiling. Set this to a bool, set it to be a set value, do that. Alright. Okay. Let's go ahead and save and then play. All right. All right. Nice. So for eyes. Those are looping. You should actually come back. Alright. So pretty much everything that we have we want to do. Let's see. I am not crazy about the fact that this blinking animation does not always work. Do that at 0.5. That does actually disturb me quite a bit. Okay, so we have everything animating. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and stop playing. I am going to do a few things. So, conversation view. Right. I don't think I actually have an event for that. So we're going to add an event here, I guess. And we're just going to call private, no, not private, it's going to be public event system.action on, we'll say conversation ended is equal to delegate. Okay. And then I'm going to come down to close. And when that happens, I'm going to go ahead and say Provoke. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and let that compile. Go up to the sewers here. Get rid of all of you. We're going to go to... What did I do that as? Give it a second because it's compiling. All right. We are going to all of this stuff. Let's see, props. I think it's either enemies or troll and M. Okay, so that's where that is. Troll fleeing. Try zones. There should be a way that this is set up. You know what? Let's go ahead and test cancel sewer manager because it's possible it's in here. Oh man, I hate looking at old code. Let's see here. Material. Enemy. Troll enemy. Find all references. Phrase recognized. Here we are. On troll moved. Okay. So we're going to go to phrase recognized on troll moved. Go to definition. Phew. All right. So this is a much more frustrating thing to work with. So I'm going to change it. So this is going to be the old one that's deprecated. And I'm going to add a new function down here called private void on troll conversation ended. And then we're just going to say if that is a good point. So I need multiple things here. So we're just going to say if true, which will always evaluate to be true, I know. We're going to go up to here, and I'm going to subdivide these things because this is ridiculous. Troll. Move all of these things to be under one area. Troll defeated. So I'm going to go ahead and say public data ID troll moved ID is equal to data ID dot none. All right. Let's see. Okay. Are you serious? We have another thing? What is this even? Okay. Let's go ahead and grab this. I'm gonna put this all the way up at the top. Okay. Equals no. All right. We're gonna let that compile. I'm going to check a few things. Make sure I'm not doing this somewhere weird. Sewer info. Nope. Hints. Nope. Well, that's what that is, I guess. Ugh. Yeah, that's a whole thing, isn't it? Hmm. That's all fine. All right. So I'm gonna put these in basically the same, or the expected position. So we're gonna say troll defeated, moved, name. Of course not. Oh man, all these IDs need updating, which is always stressful for me. All right, so we're gonna pop over to here. These are all of our items. I'm going to go ahead and pull up thing on drive. Give me a second. Pull that over here. We're gonna look at. I always forget, but it is, I believe, collection items. Data IDs. There we go. All right. So we're gonna pop over to sewer. Troll defeated. Troll learned. Troll scared. Troll moved. Fortunately, I already have that one. So I guess that's all I really need. Now that I think about it, I'm gonna pop back over to here. We have troll bypassed is a thing. I guess. Where else do I use that, actually? Ah, I see. Right there. Okay. We're going to go ahead and add that down here. Insert one below. We'll say sewer troll bypassed. This is going to be 279 for our hash. And then, let's see. What do we want to do? That's not how you spell bypassed, is it? Is it? Nope, it's not because it's with. Oh no. Okay, it is. Good. I was thinking of by as in two. Um. All right. Let's see here. So sewer troll bypassed. Iron key taken. Okay. As a matter of. Okay. Of course not. Yeah, that's what you get. All right. Well, fortunately, these can be renamed, or renamed without much consequence. So I'm going to add some spacing here just to make it a little bit more legible. The next thing, do I need anything else? I think we can get away with just that. All right. Okay, I'm trying to think about how best to do this, and it is a pain. Mostly because actually those names probably will be significant since they changed. I use the names too much. I rely on those way too much. All right. So for this, go ahead and say download CSV. Okay. Pop back over here, show in folder. Okay, data IDs. We're gonna come over to here. Place file. Let's go ahead and refresh this. I'm sure terrible things to, because the hash is the problem. Well, actually, it's not the hash, it's the names. So I just did something that was minorly important. By updating those names, I added a little bit of a difficulty spike for me, because this, you can see these are highlighted now, defeated ID and special ID, meaning that they've changed. They actually haven't, but what's happening is that because the hash, or not the hash, because the label has changed, they technically have changed on any objects in the scene, which makes this difficult. What would be the best way to handle this? Okay. Well, in any case, for now, I'm going to go ahead and do a few things. One, I'm going to click over to here, look at read, and you can see that this has changed, output ID. And now I'm thinking about how I can redo my entire save system to accommodate this, because it's a little unfortunate. All right. I'm going to do something real quick. We're going to look at session. There we go. So we're going to go to set bool, go to definition. What this does when we call set bool or any set value, we pass in the ID and it uses the ID's name to store all that information. But there's no real reason why we couldn't use the hash instead. I mean, the hash is an int, not a string, but we could just call set bool with an int value instead, and then that would basically let me set my bool values, which are based on strings, but I could change that to be, well, no, it would still be a string, but basically all of our set bool calls and set int calls and whatever would use int values instead, and that would let us persist without having to constantly update all of those names, as long as the hash chain stays the same, which is what the system is meant to do. So we're going to update this real quick, just to make this a little bit more usable. All right, so how do I want to do that? This is going to break so many things, and I really should have handled this better to begin with. So we're going to do right. Da, da, da. As long as I never append it, but there is the problem. Although this is an old script, so this might not actually matter. Okay. So I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to convert all of these to use standard. Ah, that's unfortunate. Right. Yeah. Frack. Brack. Okay. Let me think. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and continue doing this real quick, just to get things kind of on the same page. This is something I've needed to do for a while, and I just have not. So probably I'm only going to do a quick pass here, and then I'm going to change this. Oh, that's just going to cause a loop, so we can't quite do that. All right. No idea what's going on here. Cheat manager, huh? All right. So those are the only ones that really matter and caused any sort of problem for me. So if I were to say go back to here, this list will now be much shorter. But we can't really fix some of those things on air because it's going to require a slightly more in-depth look at some things, but that's fine. I'll give that a second. All right, so I'm going to save here. We're gonna pop back over here to our conversation data on our troll. No visibility here. Come back to here. Let that refresh. I know that's not what I want. We're gonna go to troll name learned. All right, let that refresh, and then we're gonna go ahead and say we're gonna come down to here. Come down to here. We're gonna go to 2. This is also something that will have no visible criteria. When it's fired, we are going to say bool sewer troll moved. It's going to be set to true. Keywords, we're going to say move, I guess, which is going to be 1 for now. Then we are also going to stipulate that for this to be valid, this cannot be true. So I'm going to say bool sewer troll moved. So we can just do any and say that that has to be false. I guess we'll do none and say that that can't be true. So as long as the troll has not already moved, you'll be able to ask them to move. If they have already moved, I guess we'll go ahead and add a third thing here. We're going to say the troll grins as it moves to sign. And actually, let's go ahead and grab sewer troll phrases. All right, we're gonna basically copy these over. Paste this. Doot. Okay, and the other one. We're gonna come back to here, and it's gonna be here. All right, so this criteria is going to be as long as is set to false, then we'll be good. Oh, I'm sorry, no. If that is set to true, then we're going to fire that. Move data setters. Okay, this is something that I've actually also been considering is having. So the keyword approach is okay, but it does have problems, specifically with regards to context. And for this, I don't want it to actually move unless you say please. So what that would mean is, let's see, it's also going to be set to false. Data setters is going to be 0. There are no data setters in this one. It's never going to be visible. How do I want to handle this? Right. Well, I do have an idea for that. So we're going to say, we're going to add a new folder actually. Folder, I'm going to call this confusion, I guess. Alright, sure, what else to call that? I'm going to create SOS, text request, ASCII, conversation animation. We're going to call this troll confused. And then I'm going to go ahead and say create SOS, ASCII, animation. That should be good. I'm just going to call this eyes confused. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and add this to our eyes, this to our head, and this to our mouth. Actually, I'm going to change that. So that's what that was. I'm going to come over here to talk mouth. I'm going to duplicate this. Go up to here. I'm going to rename this mouth, or, well, confused mouth. Confused mouth. It's a little awkward. Confused. And we're going to put this right here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to make the open mouth the default for when it's confused. It's not going to loop. That's going to have a frame rate 1. Eyes confused. I'm going to give that 1 view. I'm going to give this. Come back up to here. Paste this. And I'm going to make this be kind of like that. Oh, which means that I need to move it over to the left. So I need to come back down to here real quick. Shake head. Here we are. So we're just going to copy this. Come back up to here. Eyes confused. Paste that. And 1 and 1, I think. Alright. So now I can come back down to here, add our troll confused to this. And then go back to here, grab, so this is our confusion, so I'm going to add ASCII animator controller, we're going to make it confused. Right, I forgot that it fills those in because it's all kinds of confused, which is ironic, I guess. Alright, so let's go ahead and hit save and try, let's ask him to move, and then we're going to ask him to move again. and then we'll set up the actual. We'll finish setting up the actual level listener to look for that input. Talk. Say move. How curious. Did I put that on the wrong one? Or did I not update the keywords? Or it probably means that the criteria evaluated to be false. Right, so if just change this to any, set that to be like that. Let's try this again. Huh. That was not a speaking output. It should not have done that. Let's try moving again. Oh, that was awkward. It's just gone. Oh, right. That makes sense. We're gonna hop back over to here. Yeah, this was me being stupid. I need to do alpha. Because I hadn't done that, and obviously the label keeps going, so it just doesn't quite work. Let's try that again. Although I am a little confused as to why it was animating it talking. Because it wasn't a talking output. I guess let's just double check that. So this is not a speaking output, and neither is this, and therefore it shouldn't really animate. Alright, we gotta talk. Huh. Oh, goodness. Goodness gracious me. That is all kinds of terrifying. Cool. So that's clearly not quite working. I'm going to pop over to my test scene real quick. Because I need to double check that. I'm going to come back over to here. And I'm going to drag this. Alright, I'm going to go to our I label. And my theory was that I could just do this with alpha is equal to, I think it was something like that, right? Aren't you curious? I suppose then I need to do is equal to that. All right. I guess that's what we want then. Before we do that, let's go ahead and come over here to eyes confused. We're just going to paste that in. All right. That should fix that problem. All right. We're going to pop back over to the sewers. I keep wanting to go over to my left here. I wrote a utility at work for basically having a bunch of scenes that you can click on, and I always parent it to my left, and now I keep like going back over there to hop between scenes super quickly. It was quite convenient. Now I miss it. All right, so for this we are going to go ahead and let's finish setting up our castle sewers. So we're going to come down to here, and we're going to say if, actually, we're going to come here. So we have troll moved ID, troll defeated, troll bypassed. All right. So what this is going to do is we're going to say, so on troll conversation ended if not session.getBool troll bypassed progress ID. So if not that, do else. Actually, honestly, we don't care about anything else because that's the only one that matters. So if we have not done that, then we're going to do session.set bool troll moved ID. Actually, I don't even need to do that. We're just going to say troll bypass progress ID. Then we are going to. Oh, that is a thing, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. Yep. That's a thing. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we're gonna move this. Paste that. We are not going to worry about that actually. We're going to say set bool. There, that's going to be true. Oh, that's what that was doing. All right, that's pretty much all we need to do there. I'm going to come down here to start, and I'm also going to add a private void on destroy. Really? Sure, you'll work too. And all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say UI.get conversation view dot conversation ended plus equals on troll conversation ended. We're just gonna come back over to here. I'm gonna paste this here. Say minus equals, and then let's see. I only need to do that if. Yeah, I should only need it if I have troll. If troll bypassed is not a thing. So I guess we'll come back down to here. We'll just put it here. So if the troll is bypassed, there are 3 ways around that. If you kill it, it's gone. You can't interact with it. If you scare it, it's underneath the grating, and you still can't interact with it. So all that leaves is the troll moved ID, and that is also set simultaneously with troll bypassed. So as long as that is true, basically, or if this is not true, then we can add this, and if it is true, then we don't need to. So that's good. That also means that we can now just go ahead and get rid of this, and that's pretty much all we need to do. We're going to come back up to here. Let's see, on troll moved. Troll moved, huh? Let's find all references here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we can get rid of all of that. Come back to here, and then we can get rid of this for the time being. Let that compile. I really should probably update this session or the sewer manager editor. So let's go ahead and find all references. Come back over to here. Oh man, I will probably just do this off air because, except I don't think I can actually. I'm gonna need to handle this, aren't I? Yep. Because I need to know when the troll moves. So we're gonna do that. All right. So for our troll, let's go ahead and try to sort of corral these into a standard area. All right. So troll, troll enemy, troll move word, I guess, which we're not really going to need anymore. In fact, I'm pretty sure that we don't even use it, so we can get rid of you entirely. So we don't even need you, so I can rename you to troll moved ID. All right, and then troll defeated. Move this up to here. Troll bypass, progress ID, troll flee zone. Cool. So all that's up there. Let's go ahead and put you final spot there. Move you up to here. All right. So that means moved, defeated, scared. Must be somewhere around here. That's a good question. Let's go ahead and come back down to here. Troll defeated, troll bypassed, troll scared. There we go. I guess I kind of only do that here, so that makes sense. Let's go ahead and come back over to here. Don't need to worry about that then. So I'm going to come down to here, and this is going to be troll moved ID. ID. I believe that is correct, right? Yep, troll moved ID. Okay, we're going to come down to here, troll moved ID. Okay. These, and this, are going to be moved down to the troll area. Okay. We can get rid of you, and get rid of you, just give this a troll. Alright, I think that's all we're going to need. Let's go ahead and put this in the correct order, at least. Boom. Alright. So we're going to let that all compile. We should see everything move. Basically, a bunch of fields will move from the hints area to the enemy area, which will be renamed troll. Why those were part of hint, we may never know. Alright. So this is going to be sewer, troll moved. This should be sewer, troll bypassed. Okay, and then all we should need is, let's go over here to our enemies. Sewer troll, hello, blah, 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 enemy info. So we're going to say sewer troll defeated, sewer troll scared. Okay. I think all that leaves is here. Fleeing, sewer, troll scared, make sure that's correct. Scene info, don't need to worry about that. Alright. I think we're good. So, I should, in theory, be able to talk to the troll, ask it to move, and when we go back, it should play the animation of it moving. Also, hello, Suki. Sauki? I guess it could be Saki, but I'm assuming it's Suki. Hopefully I got that right. Welcome to the Devstream. So, let's go ahead and we're going to talk to him. It's troll. Okay. We're going to go ahead and say... Move. Did not have that selected. Move. Interesting. Why is it talking? It shouldn't be animating like that when it's... Okay, whatever. So it moved. Let's go ahead and hit back. Oh, how curious. We had a null reference exception? Alright. We're going to go ahead and, let's see, no animation with name blank found. Conversation after animation, start animation. Let's go ahead and come back over to here. We're going to, I'm assuming that's something to do with our conversation view. Started C#, but don't get what is exactly struct for. So structs are kind of like classes, but they are mostly useful for data. You don't want to use structs if you have any values that are going to change, because every time you change a value in a struct, the entire struct is rebuilt. So if you have a reference in a struct and you change a value, then that reference is gone. So for the most part, structs should largely be used for any time that you need to reference data or quickly create a data value, but not if that data is going to be modified at all, really. That's the way that I kind of tend to use structs. All right, so we're going to come over here. And so what we want to do is when we do start or soft close, we're going to go to definition. And we're going to say data. Right, so we have these intro and outro animations. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to say if tween in and data.intro animation.is valid. We're going to do this, and then we're going to say else if data.outro animation.is valid. Then we're going to do that. That solves that problem. However, I'm curious as to why this did not fire. Did I forget to assign it in start? Possibly. Let's go ahead and put in two debugs here. I'm going to say debug.log test 01 do. Did that answer your question? Also, did I get your name right? Because I always try to get people's names right. I always get them wrong, it seems, but I try. All right, so we're going to go to on control conversation ended. Go to definition here. We're just going to paste this here. Test 2. Test 3. All right. And something else has to be going on there now that I think about it. Something has to be listening for that. So let's go to cutscenes, troll movement. Here we are. Oh man, you're not gonna let me find it, are you? Ah, gross. Maybe 2017 didn't have that. Boo. Are you getting into general C# development, or are you focusing on game development? Let's see here. So I need to figure out where troll movement is being referenced. I would have assumed it was here. That's not the case. So we're going to pop back over to here. Use item with cutscene, troll scared. That's all fine. Cutscenes, troll movement. Ah, here we are. Enemy movement zone. All right. Phrase activated cutscene. You know what? Yeah, that makes more sense. Let's do that this way. So we're gonna go ahead and pop back over to here. All right. So this is going to be different. This is going to be a list of data IDs. We don't need to worry about match phrase. Okay. So we're going to change this to new data ID. I'm going to rename this from phrases to data, I guess. I don't want to call it that, do I? I'm in CS, so I'm learning C Sharp. Okay. So you're just learning it as like a general programming language? When do you know if you should put a function after the main or in a new file or class? I'm not sure. Well, my general C Sharp is a little rusty, but the way that I've always done it is main is usually, I kind of put that last because it's going to be using all the functions that are above it, most likely. Um, you can also put it, well, I'm pretty sure you can in C Sharp. You can also put it first if you want to instead have it be, if it's going to be the thing that you're constantly looking at. It's easier to have it up at the top and then have all of the sub functions below it. That way you can just kind of mostly focus at the top. You don't have to scroll all the way down to the bottom of your script. That's really a code aesthetics question. And typically, when you have a function, if it is not related to the class that it's in, then it shouldn't be in that class. It should be in its own separate class. I typically try to keep scripts small so you don't end up with large monolithic scripts. You want to have basically each script should do only the thing that it needs to do and only reference what it needs to reference. Okay, so we're going to say null here. So this is where it's going to get fun. We don't need to listen to the character anymore. We don't. The post conversation data values that will trigger the cutscene. We're going to say data values is equal to. I'm guessing this is just a standard class. Yeah. New info, none, fire once. All right, so all we're going to do here, we don't care about match phrase. We can get rid of that. Not an important thing. Go ahead and save that. Oh, also, thank you for the follow. Let's see here. I want to say on phrase recognized, also not relevant. We don't need that. Instead, we're going to go ahead and change this. So we're going to say private void on destroy. We're going to go ahead and come back down to here. We're going to say private void on conversation ended. Okay. I'm going to pop over to Castle Sewers Manager. We don't really need any of this. Oh boy, though, for analytics, I do want that. Well, that's fine. So we're going to go ahead and come up to here. I'm going to say public event system.action. And we'll say conversation data recognized. I can't spell. There we go. Or rather, I can't type. Is equal to delegate. Let's go ahead and come back down to here. All right. So what this is going to do is we're going to say if not get bool data ID. So that's false. Then we're going to go ahead and say UI.get view conversation view dot conversation ended plus equals on conversation ended. Otherwise, we can just play that. That's actually fine. And then on destroy, we're just going to do the same thing where we say minus equals. On conversation ended, we're just going to go ahead and say for int I equals 0. I is less than data values dot length I plus plus do. And we're just going to say if session dot get bool data values of I false as the defaults, I guess. Then we're going to go ahead and say we're going to break out of the for loop, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of things. One, I'm going to set. I guess it's fine. I don't like on destroy is always going to be called, but I don't really care to call it if I don't need to. Like I don't really see a reason to do that. We're fine here, I guess, for now. All right. So we are going to set data ID is equal to, not that, sorry, session dot set bool data ID true, and then what was it? Conversation data recognized dot invoke do. All right, so that will fire off an event. Now we can change our sewer manager to look for that. So I don't need to have on troll conversation ended anymore. That's, well, okay, so that is a thing, which I guess means that we'll just say on troll moved. That's all we care about. Let's go ahead and get rid of this and this. And this should only ever be fired once, so yeah, we can probably just do that. That's fine. Okay, we are then going to come back down to here. We're going to get rid of on disable, get rid of you. It's going to be on. Right. All right. So we're going to change this. This is going to be, instead of UI.get, that's the other thing. We're going to come all the way back up to here. Here we are. Control moved ID. Are we even using you? Good, we're not. So I'm going to change this to a phrase activated cutscene. There's going to be troll move cutscene. Ugh. That's not actually what it even is anymore. What a terrible name. So the problem here is this isn't a cutscene. It's merely the thing that activates the cutscene, but it's fine, I guess. I'm going to get rid of you. Fine. All right, we're going to come down to here, and we are going to change this whole thing to control move cutscene dot conversation dot recognized plus equals on troll moved. Okay, go ahead and copy that. Come down to here. We're going to say minus equals, just so we can clean up that event listener. This is also going to be on destroy. All right, and oh, really? Really? Oh, well, no wonder that was okay. Why were you way up there? Let's come back down here. Super weird. Okay. That's all correct. It's all fine. On troll moved. All right. I think we're good here. So let's go ahead. Go to troll moved real quick. All that should be good. All right. I kind of want to rename this to be conversation activated cutscene. So we're going to rename this to conversation activated cutscene. And then I'm going to go ahead and come down to here. Click on this. Okay. It's going to compile, it's going to complain because I did it in the middle of a compilation, but hopefully it won't break everything. And then once that's done, we should be good. And while that's compiling, I'm going to take a drink. All right. Okay, so for this, we are going to want. Let's come back over here to troll movement. Oh, wrong thing. Troll move. Here we are. Wow. Is this still in use? Yeah, it appears to be. Oh boy. I have some old scripts in here. Let's go ahead and come back down to here. Troll move. Cutscene info. That's all fine. Data values. We're just going to bump this up to sewer. Troll moved. Yeah, that's fine. And actually, that probably means that I don't really need to have that be set to true, because that's not going to do much here. Probably that's fine. Hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't actually think I need this. That should not be a thing. Because it's already going to be true, and this dead ID is different technically, so I don't want to mix those up. What is the goal of the game? So this is Text Quest. It is a first-person text-based adventure. The narrative goal of the game is that you're pursuing a wizard that showed up at a castle and did some evil wizardy things. The gameplay goal of the game is just kind of to give you access to this um, arena or this world where you can interact with everything by typing into a parser. And the idea is that there are tons of areas for you to explore, lots of puzzles for you to solve, lots of fun little interactions to have. It's pretty much meant to be a kind of go at your own pace classic adventure game. So we are going to come back up to here, and you are going to break. Yeah, because I forgot to do that. Hold on. Control move cutscene. Do. Yeah, da, da, da. Okay, so we're gonna let that compile, and that should solve that little problem. So the next thing that I want to do is we're going to test this out to see if it'll actually register correctly. And then we should have animations or post-conversation events working if everything falls the way I'm hoping it will. But yeah, it's very much a classical adventure game. So there's lots of throwbacks to old adventure games, old Sierra, Infocom, Lucas, LucasArts. Talk. We have a null reference exception because I did not actually set that up. Of course not. Okay, let's go ahead and fix that. It comes down here. All right, so let's try that again real quick. Seem to have good experience in programming. When do you program? I have been programming now for about 4 or 5 years. I started when I was a junior in college. We'll be generous and say that that counts. Um, the first thing I ever really did was Flash and JavaScript for web development stuff. Then I moved my way over to C Sharp once I started getting into Unity. And all right, so now we can go ahead and say back. All right, so none of that fired at all. Let's go ahead and come back here to conversation view. I guess I'll double check. So we get to test 1, which means that we get to control moved, which is up here. Okay. And then I guess let's go ahead and say debug.log test 02. I'm going to add this here as well. Okay. And then I'm going to come over here to conversation activated. Session.get bool. Blah, 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 blah. Conversation end. Okay. We're going to pop back over to here. So we're going to do select delay, refresh name, scroll delay, blah, 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 blah. We need to come up to here and go to close. That ends with close being called, which should invoke conversation ended. So let's see how far that gets. I'll also put in some debugs here. Right, so I'm going to say debug.log test convo end. I'm just putting this in so that I can tell that it's ended and the conversation actually fired that event. Then we're just going to go ahead and put this in here and say success. Okay. Now I have a variety of logs that will show me if it's actually getting to that point. Do you learn Unity by yourself with YouTube video? So it was a pretty healthy mixture of learning it by myself and learning it from on-the-job experience. When I was a junior in college, the the executive producer for the student game group that I was in left their job, and they introduced myself and another member from our group to the place they were working at, which was a local game developer that made educational games. And I was able to basically use that as an opportunity to absorb all of the knowledge that the programmer had there, or at least a lot of it. Excuse me, throat is dry. So I would work on, my own projects on the side that would sometimes double up with school projects, and then I would come into work if I had questions about how to do something. I would ask the lead programmer at the company I worked at. I would just sort of say like, "Hey, do you know how to do this thing?" And they would usually have a nice back and forth with me for 5 minutes or so, and we'd talk about different approaches that we could do to try and kind of do the thing that I was trying to do, which was a very, very helpful interaction to have. But aside from that, basically, most of my skill set was kind of self-taught through trial and error and how to do all this stuff. Okay, so sometimes move does not work. Okay, so we got all the way to 3. And we got to test convo and success. But... right, I forgot the most important part, which is actually, doing or activating the conversation, because I'm stupid like that sometimes. So we can get rid of this. Get rid of this. Okay. Let's go ahead and pop back over to here. We can get rid of all of this fun stuff. Get rid of this. Get rid of a bunch of these things that don't really need to be there. Alright. So that should fix that particular problem. Alright. And that should be all I need to do here. Okay, just kind of making sure I got everything set up. So, cool. We have that working. I do recommend, by the way, if you are learning C#, that you take a look at the Microsoft Developer Network. Specifically, let me see if I can find it real quick. Specifically, I definitely recommend taking a look at the MSDN website with C#, because Microsoft has a whole set of documentation for pretty much every programming language you can think of. And I definitely recommend checking this out, because the documentation they have on C# covers everything from getting started to in-depth information on what keywords and what specific concepts are in C#. So it's a very, very good resource to have if you're getting into programming. I definitely recommend checking that out. All right, so we have all of these things working. So now, when I talk to the troll, it should animate once we end the conversation. Yeah, the MSDN is one of the most valuable resources that I've found as far as documentation goes, because it's very good at looking for referencing if you're doing something like you're learning a new thing and you're not sure how it works really. You can usually type that in. For example, something I did recently that I haven't really gotten too much into until recently is bitwise operations. So I now know how to do, like or and, or equals or and equals bitwise operations, which is pretty nice. So it's very useful for that sort of thing. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and talk. I'm going to ask it why it's not selecting that. That's super weird and annoying. We're gonna go ahead and say move. Why it's talking still, I will never know. I'm gonna go ahead and hit back here. There we go. Let's go ahead and try walking through. Nice. Let's talk to it again. Let's go ahead and say move. All right. There we go. The troll tilts its head and looks puzzling. Cool. So that is pretty much everything we needed to test for this. What just happened? I think it's... Okay, hold on. Things are going wacky here. I think it redid it. I'm guessing that means that I need to... so if we come over to here, we're gonna... Yeah, okay. Oh, I didn't... Okay, yeah. I forgot to turn off, or turn on fire once. So we're gonna say... So if... Oh, wow, what are you doing? There we go. I'm gonna say if not fire once. We're going to do that. That's pretty good. There we go. Okay. Sorry, sometimes my typing is very sloppy and then I accidentally do things. Right. So this should fix that issue. What was happening there is that the cutscene listener was basically seeing that the conversation ended again, and since I didn't have a safety check in there for only firing once, it started the cutscene over again. That's what that weird movement we saw was. So, all right, that should basically bring everything up to parity to where it was before. And if we come back down here to troll move, let's make sure that we have fire once turned on. All right, so that's pretty nice. Okay, let's go ahead. What do I want to do here? Let's give it a quick test. So we'll ask him to move, then we'll ask him to move again. Then we checked the name already, so that's already a thing. Once we're done with this, we'll probably call it a night. I know it's a little early, but I have some pretty notable excuse me. Some pretty notable cleanup to do that needs to change there. So we're going to go ahead and say minus troll looks your way. And let's ask him to move. I got to figure out why it's talking. That's not a thing. It's not a talking output. Which probably means that it's an oversight on my part. Makes sense, I guess. So let's go ahead. And we're just going to say, go back. Oh, right. Right. If not fire once. Well, right. Right. Crud. How do I want to do that? That is a good question. Okay. I suppose the easiest thing to do, I'm going to move this stuff down to here too. Move this over to here. Alright, I suppose the easiest thing to do is to have another data ID. Talking about the troll moved. That is unfortunate. Because the data ID is going to be true, which means we can't look for it to be false and then set it to be true, which is unfortunate. Okay. That would probably work. Okay. So we're going to change this up. We're going to say, I'm going to move these things down to here. We're going to say if, instead of saying if not fire once, we're going to let this go. And then at the very, well, nope, we'll do it right here. If fire once, then we're just going to go ahead and say this. All right. So what that'll essentially do is if we only want it to fire once, then once it actually plays the animation, it's going to deregister the event listener, and then it won't ever call this function again. And then if we come back, we'll see that the target data ID that we're examining is not false, so it'll just play the cutscene, won't even register the listener. Again, everything will be the same. So this should fix that issue, and then we should be good. It'll also make our inspector look a little bit better, but only barely. Okay. So excuse me. let's test this out, see how things look. Okay, back here. Excuse me. Okay, go ahead and talk again. Move. Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and back. Shouldn't fire again. It all should be good. All right, nice. So that seems to be all fine. Seems to work, and we seem to be good. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I know it's a little early. It's only been an hour and a half, but there are a few things that I need to do for cleanup, and then I also need to do some ASCII animations, which are good to look at once they're finished, not so much when they're being written. um, so it's pretty good. We made decent progress. We now have events firing when the conversation view is closed that other things can then basically listen for and then check values in session to see if the values they're looking for have been updated in the conversation, and then they can do something. So, trying to think what else we need to do. There are still a few rough spots on the conversation view. I still don't think that so if we look at this, you can see that it's not deselecting the input below this view. It has the main input view still selected, and I'll test that by typing START. I'm going to go ahead and hit back. There you go. You can see that that's still selected. And that's obviously problematic because as soon as this opens, it should deselect it. It should force that to be deselected. But that is clearly not happening, which is problematic. The next thing is there's some slight animation logic checks that I need to update because it's doing a talking animation when it shouldn't be doing that. So I think that we're pretty good aside from that. Announcements. So just an update. This coming weekend, I will not be doing a Devstream because I'm going to be out of. Well, I'm going to be at a convention on Saturday, and then I'm going to be out of town Sunday afternoonish. Well, through Sunday afternoon. So I'm just not going to be in town to be able to do a Devstream. This Thursday, I am not sure if I'm going to be doing a Devstream because it's Halloween. And, it's Halloween, so people are going to be doing Halloween things. But keep your ear to the ground on the Discord. I'll post there if I do end up doing a stream. But for now, I think that's a pretty good place to stop for the night. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.